Hello everybody, wherever you might be, right around Australia, New Zealand, or in the world, in particular in Phoenix, because history has been made. We have seen it. The 36ers head over to Phoenix and knock off the Suns. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. And that is only one of the major stories of what has been an outstanding week one as we kickstart hashtag NBL 23. So much to get into. Homicide in the house. You got the energy, my man.
Dude, what a round. What a round. This is how you kick off NBL 23. You couldn't have kicked it off no better.
Hard to disagree when it comes to overtime. We had close games, we had superstars standing up, and we had NBA v NBL. Pete Hooley's been over in that situation before. Hello to you, buddy.
Oh, man, I mean, unbelievable. We're going to talk a lot about that Adelaide game. You're right, it was there. We lost by a point. It was to feel so close, but this was completely different. But what a round overall. We're probably not going to talk about it. Shout out the development players.
Yes.
What a round for development players as well. They were lighting it up, and there's so much to get into.
We're going to talk about Melbourne. We're going to talk about Sydney. We're going to talk about Perth, Brisbane, and so much, including yes or no. But we are a little bit less on the panel because, of course, our very own Mr. Junket is in the desert. I speak of Liam Santamaria. He was courtside as it all historically unfolded yesterday. Liam, as we welcome you in, my man, what a day and what an occasion to be a part of.
Unbelievable, Cam. Unforgettable experience to be in the building last night when Adelaide did what they did. They created history for the NBL, for their club and Australian basketball, and I'll never forget the experience of watching it take place.
Look, win-win situation for you, mate, being a hardcore Phoenix Suns fan who famously 2 years ago went a little early with that Instagram video when you said, we're going to win the title, and then Giannis Antetokounmpo broke your heart. But to be there yesterday, to be able to see the Suns up close and personal and the 36ers do their thing, you were the best person for the job.
Oh, thanks, man. Look, forget about the Suns. It was all about the 36ers. It was all about Craig Randall and Robert Franks and CJ Bruton and what they did. I mean, the Suns, they rolled out the big names. They rolled out Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, their starting unit that they're going to have all season. We're out there on the floor. They played extended minutes in the third. They didn't come back in the fourth, but they were in that ball game. And the 36ers just in spectacular fashion got the win. This is the way it started. And look at the score, 4-zip down. A couple of early settling buckets from Daniel Johnson were massive. It was an 8-zip run to the 36ers after that. And then everyone started getting involved. Sunday Dech off the bench comes in and knocks down shots. Of course, Booker and DeAndre Ayton, they were doing their thing. But once the 36ers caught fire from long range, including Robert Franks and Craig Randall and the like, they just kept piling on the points. And that's always the big question mark for our NBL teams playing the NBA. Can they continue to tick the scoreboard over? And everyone started chiming in. Kai Soto knocking down triples. And there you see, late in the third, it was a 6-point lead at three-quarter time. And we all started to think they might be able to get this done.
Well, Liam, you sat here in this chair last week and he turned around to us and said if Adelaide has a chance, they're going to need either Craig Randall or Robert Franks to catch fire. I don't think I could ever have envisioned both of them and the whole team coming along for the party. It was so fun to watch. And another thing that Monty Williams said was he did play their superstars extended minutes. But Liam, did you ever expect for everybody to jump in on this party?
Oh, it was one of those situations where a couple of guys got going and then everyone grew in confidence and started feeling it from long range. I mean, 24 made threes at nearly 60% was ridiculous. And to start the fourth quarter, I mean, I started to get a little worried, though, at that point because, Phoenix started to get things happening. And that's when Craig Randall started just losing his mind from long range. These shots were completely outrageous. And what a moment it was for him on that NBA stage. And look, it got to a point where Randall and AC and Robert Franks just continued to knock down shots and they took the game. And there you see, I mean, the Suns and their fans were shell-shocked, fellas. They couldn't believe what took place. Respect was shown post-game, but the 36ers just took them and the basketball world by surprise last night.
You mentioned it, Liam. You put an Instagram story up, I think it was late in the fourth, and the crowd was really, really loud. But I just want to get a sense of the crowd because traditionally these early preseason games, fans roll in, there's not a great deal of intensity, and then they sort of get involved as the game continues. What was the Phoenix Suns crowd like? Was there stunned silence once the buzzer went, but were they up and down through the fourth quarters? Was there a sigh of disbelief as these boys were just going to absolute work from the three-point line? What was it like over 4 quarters?
Well, let me start by saying there was a massive crowd there.
Yeah.
I mean, they had 12,000 turn up to an open practice a couple of days prior. And then it was a big crowd. They were super amped to start the game because their Suns, they're championship contenders, and they really want a bounce-back season after what happened in the playoffs. So there was big energy to begin the game, but they were shell-shocked throughout the game as Randall and Franks and co just continued to knock down shots from way, way outside. And then, to be honest, in that fourth quarter, a lot of Suns fans just started cheering for the 36ers. They were just enjoying the Randall show, to be honest, and were appreciating what those guys were getting done on that floor. So it was a weird sort of situation. And then, of course, it was just big energy from the 36ers on the floor at the end of the game.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. We're going to say goodbye to you, Liam, right now because we've got a very special guest about to join us, mate. It's going to be a big one. We'll hear a little more from you via all the NBL socials when it comes to the OKC game in a couple of days' time, mate. So enjoy it.
Cheers, fellas.
All right, while we just work out how we're going to get our very special guest involved, Robert Franks had this to say, and I liked it. There was so much excitement. You can catch all the great interviews via the NBL website and the NBL socials. There we go. This team is special. When I said what I said in Vegas, and I quote, championship or bust, I meant everything I said. This just shows how good we are. It's hard to argue with Homicide.
And that's why we're not going to argue it.
Good.
I had at least, on the polls when we put up the predictions, I had Adelaide 36ers playing against Perth in the grand final. I still have that. And it was a special performance, what we saw. You know, at the end of the day, all you want is a good opportunity to play against an NBA team, whether it's exhibition or a real game, and hit shots. That's the name of the game, and that's exactly what they did. And they showed that they are special. They represented themselves. They represented their organization. They represented the NBL. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it even no better than how it played out. But he was a beast when he was with Brisbane. Mm-hmm. We all knew this, right? Even though, you know, they didn't make finals, he was a stud.
Unreal. Right?
So for him to go over there in this position, it didn't surprise me for him to put on. He was putting on here, and all guys, you know, I said it earlier when I was on another show this morning. I said, if you take off like the top 5 players on any NBA roster, I would put up an elite NBL team against any of them, and I put my money on that. Because once you take the superstars off of every team, with all due respect to NBA players, those guys are specialists. They're role players. They just fit in to complement the star players. But if you are an elite player playing overseas and you go play in the game like they played yesterday, you have more room for error. It's your team. You're gonna get shots, you're gonna get minutes, the coach is backing you. Which means what? It's showtime. You feel you belong. Look, Mitch McCarron is a point guard that can play in the league. You can't get 16 dimes on a championship contending team, and they're playing defense. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear, it's preseason. I don't want to hear they weren't playing their stars. They were playing their stars.
Correct.
And if it's a championship contending team, you're setting the tone early. Here's what happens. As an NBA player, you look down. You look at overseas players like second-class citizens. I'm telling you, this is how they look at you. If you're that good, you'd be in the league. First mistake. Second mistake is, they'll hit shots. They'll stop hitting at some point. Second mistake. The third mistake is you cannot go into any game against people you don't know and think you could just flip the switch. Only players that could flip the switch are the super elite. They were not in that game. So my point is, it's too late. You're playing on the back foot. I'm comfortable. I'm confident out there. I'm hitting shots. You got Craig Randall, G League, most improved player. He's hit. I don't even need the earpiece. He's hit the most threes in the G League last year. He's one of the deadliest scorers in G League history.
Let me stop
From
you right
Phoenix.
there. Let me stop you right there.
Family in the
You
stands.
need the earpiece.
Dogs.
You need it back. You know why?
Why?
We forgot that man.
Oh, my
35
goodness.
points back in the desert. And in particular in the fourth quarter, as
Hello.
Liam spoke about, Craig Randall went to work. Mate, welcome to the NBL. First time on NBL Overtime. Welcome. What a way to announce yourself. That looks so fun to watch. Congratulations, man. And Robert Frank says, hey, it's championship or bust. You buying that as well?
Yeah, I'm definitely buying into that. We got a special team. In my opinion, we got the best point guard in the NBL. And so he's leading us. He's ahead of our snake, and we all feel like it's championship or bust. We know what we're up against. We know everybody's out to get us, but we're out to get everybody too. So that's probably the most dangerous thing about us.
All right, Craig, talk us through it, because I had one point during the fourth quarter when you were going on your run where I was laughing. I thought it was absolutely comical, the shot making, and it looked like everybody else was enjoying it because you were smiling, Robert Franks was smiling. What was it like to be in that groove where anything you throw up from anyone on the team was just going down?
For me, honestly, I kind of did that all last year, but to stay in that moment and to be in that moment on an NBA court with the NBA guys, it's a surreal feeling. For me, it was just I was at home again. I played a year of high school in Arizona, so all my family was there, my friends. So I just wanted to have a good game. But I talked to CJ before the game, and he was just telling me to be as consistent and be as calm as possible the whole game. Just let it come to me. And in that fourth quarter, I found my rhythm, and it was just opening up.
Your biggest fan is your father. He loves you to death. He speaks so highly of you. I spoke to your father. Like every other day I talk to him, right? For you to do this in Phoenix, like you said, you went to high school there, family in the crowd, and feeding off your team, because early in the game, you know, everybody else was really getting it rocking. You've done this last year in the G League, as you said. So how great was it to have an opportunity? I felt you should have been in the league last year when you was lighting it up when they was doing all the COVID call-ups. But to have a moment like you had yesterday, this is stuff like, you know, as a hooper, you dream of. How good was it to know your team had your back? And in that zone, how great did you feel actually seeing those shots drop versus an NBA team, a championship contending Phoenix Suns?
It felt great. My teammates, they have a lot of confidence in me. They always tell me to just let it come to me. I'm a very passionate player, so sometimes that comes out. But they just told me to stay calm. And like you said, everybody had it going early. We were just in a groove. And I think the one thing that stood out to me the most was we didn't care who was doing it, whether it was me, Robo, AC. When we started the game and DJ kept us afloat. When Sunday came in the game, Drim came in, hit a three. And like I said, Mitch, he just controlled the whole game. It's hard to get 16 assists in the game.
Yeah.
Nobody can tell me that. It's hard to get
Facts.
16 assists, no matter what. And so, like I said, he's the best point guard in the NBL. And with him leading us and with us staying like bought into what CJ has us doing, the whole staff, we're dangerous.
Craig, you were glaring every now and then towards the Phoenix Suns bench. There seemed to be a little bit of chat. Were you letting the lip run as well, man? You looked like you were enjoying it. Were you letting them know that this history was about to happen?
I was just having fun. There were a couple hecklers in the stands who were talking, but that's part of the game. But I'm the type of guy that I answer all those challenges. So you can talk if you want, but just make sure you keep talking when I get going too. That's how I feel. So
Well, you got going. They tried to keep talking. In the end, history was made, as I said. Now, you got OKC in a couple of days. It's a little bit of an interesting situation, and Pete Hawley's been in this situation where the season in the NBL has started and has been overseas. But did you celebrate? Like, tell us what happened last night. How did you, as a team, enjoy what actually happened on the court?
we definitely enjoyed it in the locker room. Just proud of ourselves, but we also know what we have in front of us on Thursday, another opportunity to make history again. And we're preparing for what's coming in the NBL season. So we know everybody's watching, and we know everybody's talking about us and everybody's out for us. But like I said, we are out for everybody too. So that's the one thing about us is we're not just sitting here waiting for everybody to come get us. Like, we feel like we still have so much to prove. So when we get back to Australia, we're going to have the same mindset, same intensity, same focus, and we're trying to win a championship. So every night we have to prove that, and that's what we're willing to do.
Craig, from all Adelaide 36ers fans and everyone neutral basketball fans in this country, thank you. It was so fun to watch the middle of the afternoon here in Australia, and to do your thing and your teammates was so exciting, and so many world firsts have been happening in Australian basketball in the last couple of years, and so glad that we could watch you add to it yesterday afternoon, my man. Good luck in OKC. Safe travels back, and we'll see you back in round 3 in the NBL.
Thank you.
He went to absolute work. The 36ers went to work. They got the job done. And now, to be honest, we probably should do some work on the other side of the break. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. We'll talk some Sydney. We'll talk some Melbourne. We'll talk some Brisbane, Perth, and, of course, yes or no, right around the nation. Wherever you might be, hello to you. Hashtag NBL Overtime as we fight through not only the history made in Phoenix, but week 1 of the NBL, which has taken a little while to get to. But let's start with the Sydney Kings, because the question mark when you win a championship and you become the hunted and you replace your 3 imports and one of them's the MVP, how do you do it? But homicide, they have done it. Derek Walton Jr. went nuts. He went nuts early. They found himself in a little bit of hole. He went nuts late. He had 32, 8 assists and got them the dub on opening weekend.
I mean, it's fantastic how he did it. He didn't go above 3rd gear in this game. They absolutely had no answer for him. Left hand, right hand. His 3 ball was hitting. He literally could average a double-double this season with assists. I think he's Scott Machado on steroids, and that's very difficult to say, and I mean that in a complimentary manner. But this guy is no joke. He's 100% an NBA point guard. Now, with that said, I said it on Instagram, and I'm going to say it on this show.
It is.
Chris Palmgrass, you have my respect. Now, I know you're not looking for my respect. However, when someone does a great job consistently, I give out the roses, and I'm giving you roses, man. You have done an exceptional job putting together talent on this team, whether it's imports or it's locals. And what you've done, I mean, obviously, you lose a trio. And Clark Jarrell Martin and obviously Jalen Adams, the $1 million man, how would you replace him? And, I mean, it's one game, but what I've seen, what we've all seen, you have done a remarkable job, and kudos to you.
Derek Walton Jr., he's the human yo-yo. He's got the ball on a string, and it's so fun to watch. I think, look, you replace an MVP in Jalen Adams, and I thought everyone who knows basketball should know about Derek Walton Jr. I expected him to come in, potentially lead the league in assists, but to have the game he did, if he continues, not numbers like that necessarily, but there's no reason why he is not in the MVP race because of how easily he looked to score.
That was easy.
That's what I mean by
that was easy.
As you said, he didn't get out of 2nd gear. So when he actually has to ramp it up a little bit against elite defensive teams, the Hawks I don't think will be one of the elite defensive teams, but he just sliced them apart in 2nd gear. I love you said kudos to Chris Palmgrass to be able to replace one with that. He's also a terrific person, Derek Walton Jr. as well, which is a high character thing. It's unbelievable. And again, all signs are pointing to why can't the Kings repeat again with the roster they have?
All right, so it's early days, right? So let's not go too far. But you're right. The thing that I liked about him is his laconic nature and the way he goes about it. He's clearly a very casual cat. But because
he's a casual killer.
Yeah, and because he's not necessarily a guy who is desperately like a scorer first.
Correct.
It allows the game to come to him. That's exactly what happened on Saturday night. So that means it looks easier. It's not easy. It's easier. He makes it look that way. And he takes whatever the defense gives to him. And that's really the sign of a superstar player. You've got to be able to find someone who can take an MVP role. Now, again, we're 1 week into this thing, 1 game into this thing. But when you run your organisation, and Sydney aren't the only one in the NBL, because I think it's happening all around the league right now, but when you run it like an NBA franchise and you have the culture being built, in particular from the NBA experience that a lot of people in the NBL have, it makes you a lot more appealing to these players, and it means that the players who are in the organisation get the utmost out of themselves. And that's exactly what I look like when I look at Sydney, when I look at Perth, when I look at Melbourne United, and I look at Adelaide even. Every single club is a mini NBA culture without the big cash. Hence why it's no surprise when they can find guys like this. I like it.
I think
that's exciting.
Well, I think it's great because, look, Vasiljevic and Xavier Cooks had their moments. They had great games. but they still didn't play anywhere near their best. So once they start to really lock into their form and being how elite they can be, imagine how much easier it's going to get for the point guard like Derek Walton to find them.
That's the thing, right? It's going to be not easier because I think you're right. Illawarra probably aren't one of the great defensive teams in the league, but his comfortability rises up, as does the intensity of the defense.
Is that a word?
Huh?
Comfortability?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it work?
Yeah, well, I mean, it works. 100% it works.
Oh, I hope so. I may have just made a word up. Who knows? Who knows? I'm with you. You know what's going to happen right now? Hool is about to rip apart the Brisbane Bullets.
Oh.
You're not happy with them, man. Why?
Well,
What's going on?
I mean, it's game
one game, mate.
It is one game, but look, the concern from the Blitz that I had was they turned the ball over too much. They had 24 turnovers against Perth.
You're not beating nobody with 24 turnovers.
Correct.
I agree.
But look at some of these. It's just careless turnovers, which is why James Duncan's probably not. It's not panic stations after round one, but they started on fire in this game. But just some of them are super careless. Like the roll's there for Aaron Baines, but you've got Tayshaun Thomas coming across. That can't just be a careless little pass across. 24 is way too many if you're trying to beat Perth in Perth. They also had a lot of rotations. It was a bit of like an ice hockey game. They were very deep. I think their supporting cast will be one of the best supporting casts once they get rolling. I expect that to tighten up a lot in the coming weeks for James Duncan. I don't think he's going to play everybody even minutes like the way he kind of did. Nathan Sobey's an anomaly. He's still on restrictions with minutes. But the concern is the turnovers. It's going to come. They're going to have to put notice onto it. But it's been the Blitz and now the first game they haven't controlled that.
It was always going to be a tall order in RAC Arena.
Oh, no doubt.
Versus King Cotton. And the biggest thing on every board in the beginning of the pregame discussions in that locker room is take care of the ball. So 24. You're not getting that done nowhere. You're not getting a W anyway.
Agreed. I think the very fact that Nathan Sobey hasn't played a great deal because of the injury, Tyler Johnson, they haven't meshed a great deal. Those guys are going to be the two that are going to be fun to watch. Baines is still easing his way in. And I think the fact that he played a more even rotation is that in the preseason, a lot of those guys won NBL 1 championships, having a great off-season. So I think he's going to try and ride or die with maybe the combination of these guys who are in some type of game plan or game shape. I don't think that'll be the case going forward.
Yeah, and they've actually probably got two most improved player candidates, which is going to be juggled. Tanner Krebs looks great. Harry Froling looks great. So how to juggle all that? DJ Mitchell looks good as well. It's going to be interesting to see how it's juggled. It's definitely nowhere near panic stations. They'll be contesting for it come the business end. It's one game. But looking at the highlights, the turnovers, how unforced they were, just careless, that's the issue. If Perth ramped up the energy and you're turning it over from traps, that's different to just throwing it to Bryce Coleman.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Plenty more, including yes or no next. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved wherever you might be. There you go, via all our socials at NBL on whatever is possible in the social media world. All right, week 2 is only, remarkably, one sleep away. It starts tomorrow night, the Hawks and the Phoenix to go at it. But this is a rounding stand-up ovation because they're back.
They're back.
Standing ovation. The Breakers are back in New Zealand. They take on the JJs, who'll be pretty disappointed with the first week. The Kings and the Bullets in Sydney. They're going to unveil the championship banner on Friday night. The Kings, Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix and the Taipans. And the Taipans were great Monday night. And then the Wildcats and the Hawks to go at it. And then Sunday afternoon, JJ's, the Bullets, United and Kings renew that rivalry. And the Taipans get home to take on the Wildcats. It's a jam-packed week number 2. I don't know about you guys, but I'm all about the Breakers being at home.
Oh, it's going to be an emotional return for sure.
Will be.
I'm actually, besides that, my favourite game I'm looking forward to, believe it or not, is Cairns versus Perth. I think Cairns is going to be one of the most exciting teams to watch. If you enjoyed Adelaide making a lot of threes, Cairns could have some similar games like that.
Yes or no
Melbourne
time?
United
hit me.
versus Sydney Kings.
Yeah.
That is going to be a serious game.
Well, just on Melbourne United, we haven't touched on them too much, but they open yes or no.
Okay.
Within 4 weeks, will Melbourne United replace Jordan Caroline with the starting centre?
No.
Is there a now Sam McKinnon said this, and I actually agree with him, but we'll see what you think. Is there a relationship issue between players and NBL refs?
Yeah, I didn't mind that
communication.
because back in 2018, I enjoyed being able to have those conversations.
Yeah. Do Tassie now lack an alpha closer?
Yes.
All good time.
Adelaide title favourites.
No, because I don't think they're all getting on the plane on the way home.
That's my next question. Are they going to lose someone into the NBA?
I think their phones will be buzzing and there might be some strong conversation.
Give me a player.
Oh, I think Robert Franks is one that's going to have the phone buzzing.
I hope not. He's my MVP prediction. Hey, was Lockie Dent more impressive than Kyle Adnam?
Yes.
Lockie Dent.
Shout out to Lockie Dent.
He was outstanding.
Shout out to Lockie Dent and shout out to CJ Bruton.
Yes.
You got the team you wanted.
Yes.
Your
Keep
team
them.
backed
Hang on, you got 5 seconds.
cashed in,
Save it for
and
your
they delivered,
Instagram. Save it
baby.
for your Instagram. See ya.